Welcome to Scottish Golf's presentation on the 2019 rules of golf. Before we start, I would like to thank you for taking the time to attend and give the person hosting the opportunity to go through some important housekeeping points, including location of the nearest fire exit and muster point, and if any drills are planned, locations of toilets, as well as asking if all phones could be turned to silent. So without further ado, let's get started.
2019 is going to be a very significant year in rules evolution, with changes in the rules that result from the R&A and USGA Rules Modernisation Initiative, with the aim of bringing the rules up to date and fit to the needs of today's global game. The overall goals of the modernised rules are to be easily understood and applied by all golfers, be simple, consistent and fair, use a consistent approach for similar situations, support good pace of play. This section of the presentation will cover 4 topics: using the new rulebook, new terminology, areas of the course, and new principles. These are designed to give you an overview of the key changes in 2019. The new rulebook is broken down into sections as displayed, which should make it easier as there are now only 24 instead of 34 rules. There is also a guide how to use the rulebook on page 15 of the Player's Edition of the Rules of Golf. The index at the back of the book can also help you to identify quickly the rule that is relevant to your situation. For example, if you accidentally move your ball on the putting green, identify the key words in the question such as ball moved or putting green. The relevant rules can be found under the headings ball moved and putting green in the index. It's also advisable to get to know the definitions, as these are the foundations that the rules are written on. If you do have to make a decision on an incident, then you need to understand the facts of the case. The form of play: are you playing match play or stroke play? Is it single, foursome or 4-ball? Who is involved? Does the question involve you, your partner or caddy, your opponent or his or her caddy, or an outside influence? On what part of the course did the incident occur? Was it in a bunker, in a penalty area, on the putting green, etc.? And what actually happened? Now, having covered how to use the rulebook, let us look at some of the ways the language has changed, being deliberately written in a more modern way, using common words, shorter sentences, and headings that explain the rules. If we look at the slide, you can see the old terminology on the left and the new on the right. Through the green has been replaced by the general area. The teeing ground is now the teeing area. Water and lateral hazards are now yellow and red penalty areas. Wrong putting green is now just wrong green. Outside agency is now outside influence. Abnormal ground condition is now abnormal course condition. Casual water is now temporary water. Play prohibited, environmentally sensitive area is now no play zone, and nearest point of relief is nearest point of complete relief. Another thing you'll notice in the rulebook is the end of male-only references, and also the use of the phrase general penalty, rather than constant repetition of either a 2-stroke penalty in stroke play or loss of hole in match play. Now we look at the rules changes that affect specific areas of the course. The golf course is now split into 5 distinct sections: the teeing area, bunkers, penalty areas, putting green, with the remainder of the course being identified as the general area. Different rules and relief options now apply, dependent on what part of the course the ball lies. Rule 2.2c determines where a player's ball lies, as a ball is always treated as lying in only one area of the course. If part of the ball is both in the general area and one of the 4 specific areas, it is treated as lying in the specific area of the course. If part of the ball lies in 2 specific areas of the course, it is treated as lying in the area that comes first in this order: penalty area, bunker, putting green. Next, we will cover some key principles that have been introduced to use a consistent approach for similar situations and provide fairer outcomes whenever you're on the golf course. Players will continue to drop a ball when taking relief under many different rules, but the dropping procedure has changed in several ways. The first new concept is the reference point. When dropping a ball, a player must now have a reference point. This is the spot from which they may measure the area in which to drop. Recommended point that this point is marked with a T-peg or some other small object. No penalty if the reference point is not marked, but without a defined mark, it can make the whole dropping procedure more complicated. Directly linked to this is the new concept of the relief area. This is the area a player must drop a ball when taking relief. It is also the area where a ball must come to rest when taking relief. Ball must be re-dropped if it comes to rest outside this relief area. The whole issue of whether a ball has rolled a further 2 lengths and still be in play is no longer relevant. The dropped ball must stay in the relief area. It is hoped that these changes both standardise the process of taking relief and makes the dropping and re-dropping process more easily understood. Still within the context of dropping, the club length has now been defined and can be found in the back of the rulebook in the definitions. This has a direct impact on establishing the size of the player's relief area. It is now defined as the longest club in your bag, except the putter. As a driver is likely to be most people's longest club in the bag, this club will be the only one that determines the size of the relief area, even though another club may physically be used to measure. We would therefore recommend best practice that always use the longest club when measuring to avoid any problems of more accurately identifying whether a ball has come to rest correctly within the relief area. Completing the dropping procedure is the change in the rules that everyone is likely to have heard about: dropping the ball from knee height. How a ball is to be dropped is simplified. The only requirement is that the ball be let go from knee height and does not touch any part of the player's body or equipment before it hits the ground. The ball must be dropped within and come to rest within the specific relief area set by the rule under which you are taking relief, and will be within 1 or 2 club lengths of the reference point. No re-drop is required if it accidentally hits a person or object after hitting the ground but before coming to rest in the relief area. Dropped a ball second time if it comes to rest outside the relief area. If this happens again, it is placed where it first touched the ground on the second drop. The R&A considered various heights but decided on knee height, as the lower height increases the chances of the ball staying within the relief area. Dropping rather than placing retains a desired randomness to where the ball comes to rest, so not always guaranteeing a good lie, and probably results to fewer plug balls when dropping balls in bunkers. Now some changes that are linked to searching for and identifying your ball. The underlying principles of these changes are to have a positive impact on pace of play, make the rules simple and practical to apply, bring consistency to the approach of trusting the player. The first change is the time allowed for searching for a ball before it becomes lost has been reduced from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. Studies have found that balls are generally found within 3 minutes. It's also hoped that this change will encourage more players to play provisional balls, which, if not done, generally loses even more time. The second change is if a player accidentally moves their ball while searching for it, there is no longer a penalty. The ball will always be replaced, even if the exact spot is not known. The original spot will simply need to be estimated. One reason for this change is the belief that the rules should help the player find his or her ball within a reasonable length of time and not penalise them when they do. The final change we will cover in this section is a player may mark and lift a ball, for example, to identify it or to see if it is unfit for play, without first needing to announce this intention to another person. If, however, this was done for no good reason, the player would incur a penalty of 1 stroke. The following changes are all designed to make situations encountered on the golf course less confusing and not lead to unnecessary penalties. Under Rule 14.3, whenever a player must drop a ball in taking relief, either under penalty or free relief, they will always be allowed the choice to substitute a ball or use the original ball. Put simply, substitution will be allowed whenever a player takes relief under any rule when the next stroke must or may be played from somewhere other than where the ball came to rest. Substitution will not be allowed when the rules require the ball to be replaced on its original spot. This should clear up any confusion around whether or when a substitution can take place. The rules now treat all accidental deflections the same, no matter who or what caused them. Rule 10.1a covers fairly striking the ball, but if you have a tendency to hit the ball more than once, the good news is that you no longer incur a 1-stroke penalty and the ball is simply played as it lies. Under Rule 4.1a, the player will now be allowed to continue using any club that has been damaged during a round, no matter how it has been damaged, even if in anger. An existing decision has been brought into the rules to ensure that players will not be penalised if they make reasonable judgment when estimating or measuring a spot, line, point, area or other location on the golf course. Therefore, if the player did all that could be reasonably expected in the circumstances to make a prompt and accurate estimation or measurement, this judgment will be upheld, even if it is later shown to be wrong by another confirmation. Even if an advantage is gained, the player will get no penalty for small inaccuracies or even if the estimation was significantly wrong, but there is no way of doing a better job. The rules will also reverse the current default position on distance measuring devices, so that players will now be allowed to use distance measuring devices. Therefore, a local rule is no longer required. Instead, committees can now introduce a local rule to prohibit the use of DMDs. DMDs have become widespread and are used globally, so it makes sense to reverse the default position as they have also proved to assist pace of play. The rules have made a couple of changes that focus on the Caddie. Once the player begins taking a stance for the stroke until the stroke is made, the player's Caddie must not deliberately stand on or close to an extension of the line of play behind the ball. Now to areas of the course. The teeing area is the area where players must play from in starting play of a hole, and it is a rectangle that is 2 club lengths deep. Remember, defined as the longest club in your bag. defined by the outer limits of the tee markers. Other tee locations, including others on the same hole, are deemed part of the general area. Tee markers are deemed fixed whenever playing from a teeing area, otherwise they are movable obstructions. The next area of the course is the general area. The general area is the area of the course that covers all of the course except these four defined areas: the teeing area of the hole being played, all penalty areas, all bunkers, and the putting green of the hole being played. It also includes all other teeing locations on the course and all wrong greens. Similar to the new distance measuring device rule, the default position for relief for an embedded ball will now be reversed under Rule 16.3. Relief will now be allowed for a ball embedded anywhere, except when embedded in sand, in the general area, what was known as through the green, without the need for a local rule. A committee can restrict embedded ball for parts of the general area cut to fairway height or less by introducing a local rule. A ball is considered embedded when part of the ball is below the level of the ground, as the picture shows. This is a good example of a graphic from the decisions book, having now been moved to the rulebook to make the rules more easily understood. In terms of actually taking relief for an embedded ball, we must now refer to what we know from the new dropping procedure. First, establish a reference point. This is now clarified as being the spot immediately behind the ball. Then we measure our relief area using our longest club but not the putter, and measure 1 club length. Then we drop a ball from knee height within the relief area, not nearer the hole than the reference point. If the ball hits my ankle on the way down before touching the ground, we cancel the drop and do it again. The ball comes to rest in the relief area and off we go. This is a great example of a rule change that creates consistency, as before we had to drop it as close to the spot of the embedded ball as possible, and with reference point now being the spot right behind the ball, this avoids the question of what to do when a ball rolls back into the same pitch mark. This can no longer happen. Now a look at abnormal course conditions. These are defined as the following: an animal hole, ground under repair, an immovable obstruction, or temporary water. Abnormal course conditions also now include a hole dug by an animal, not just burrowing. Relief is available except when the condition is out of bounds or the ball lies within a penalty area. So looking at this slide, a section of the general area has been defined as ground under repair, defined by the committee. As before, we first establish a reference point. This is classed as being the nearest point of complete relief within the general area. Then we measure our 1 club length relief area. We then drop a ball from knee height within the relief area, which must be in the general area, not nearer the hole than the reference point, and must provide complete relief from all interference from the ground under repair. The ball comes to rest in the relief area and off we go. If a ball is lost in ground under repair, it must be known or virtually certain, which is now defined as 95% likely. The reference point for relief would then be estimated as the point where the ball last crossed the ground under repair. An identical procedure now applies to immovable obstructions, as they are categorised as abnormal course conditions. Remember, the reference point is the nearest point of complete relief and not the nicest point of relief, so it may take you into the rough, not always on the fairway side. There are a couple of examples on the slide. The nearest point of complete relief is established for B1, ball on abnormal course condition, such as a cart path. This is the point nearest to the ball's original spot, but not near the hole than that spot, which is position 1. For ball 2, the player is standing on the abnormal condition, so has interference. Position 2 is the nearest point to where the ball lay that allows the player complete relief from the condition. The other side would be further away. Now we'll have a look at the unplayable ball rule. The change in the rules here is to predominantly introduce you to the new terminology associated with a player's relief options. We have stroke and distance relief, where the reference point is the spot where the previous stroke was made, which if not known must be estimated and ball dropped within 1 club length of that spot. Back on the line relief, the reference point for the 1 club length relief area is a spot on the course keeping where the ball lay in line with the flagstick, with no limit as to how far back you can go. Lateral relief, reference point for the 2 club lengths relief area is the spot of the original ball. This diagram illustrates unplayable ball relief options when a ball lies in a bunker. The player can take relief under any of the 3 options, 1, 2 and 3, as shown. Stroke and distance, back where the player last played. 1 shot penalty as before. Number 2, if dropping back on the line, ball must be dropped in the bunker for 1 shot penalty as before. And number 3, if lateral relief, ball must be dropped in the bunker under 1 shot penalty as before. But, as an extra relief option, new for 2019, when a ball is in a bunker, a player can now choose to take back on the line relief outside the bunker for a total penalty of 2 strokes, which could really help players who struggle to get out of bunkers. Another area defined in 2019 is bunkers, which will be given their very own rule number. With that comes some big changes as to what players can do. Under Rule 12, players will now be permitted to touch or move loose impediments in a bunker, such as stones, leaves, twigs, pine cones. However, there would still be a 1-stroke penalty if in removing the loose impediment the ball moved. The ball must be replaced. Players will also generally be allowed to touch the sand with a hand or club, with some exceptions, such as prohibiting testing the condition of the sand or touching the sand whilst preparing for the stroke, touching the sand with their club in front of or behind their ball by taking practice swings or in the backward movement of the club. Also worth noting, the definition on bunker has changed to now exclude the wall or lip of the bunker, consisting of soil, grass, etc., as not being part of the bunker, the same as stacked turf face of a bunker. So if, in the backswing, a player touches the wall or lip of the bunker, there is now no penalty. A look now at an abnormal course condition in a bunker, such as temporary water, from which we need to take relief. The nearest point of complete relief, free relief, must be within the bunker. If there is no nearest point of complete relief in the bunker, the player may find the point of maximum available relief, and this becomes the reference point for the relief area. Alternatively, if the player does not want to play from the bunker, there is still the option of dropping back on the line outside the bunker under penalty of 1 stroke. The next area we'll look at is the putting green. Under Rule 13.2, improvements on the putting green are now permitted, which means almost any damage on the green can be repaired. Damage is defined to include all types of damage caused by a person or outside influence, such as ball marks, spike mark damage, indentation from a club or flagstick, animal damage, and even embedded objects. What is not allowed, however, is repair of natural imperfections, damage caused by normal maintenance practices such as aeration holes, verticutting, or natural wear of the hole. It should be noted that aeration holes can still be added as a local rule. An area of poor ground can of course be marked as ground under repair. Damage can be repaired by the player's hand, foot, or other part of the body. A pitch mark repairer, tee, or other similar item of normal equipment, but must not unreasonably delay play. The philosophy for this change is that the putting green should be a smooth surface for rolling your ball, so this rule change honours that and means there will be less dubiety when trying to decide what is a ball mark. Continuing with the putting green, and to emphasise speed of play, players will now have the choice of putting with a flagstick in the hole, having it attended, or having it removed. If the player decides to leave the flagstick in the hole, there will be no penalty if a ball played from the putting green hits it. This will be particularly help long putts when no one is near the hole to attend the flags, and maybe even for simple tap-ins. In another change under Rule 13.2c, a ball is treated as holed if it rests against the flagstick and any part of the ball is below the surface of the putting green, as in the picture shown. So no longer does the whole of the ball need to be below the surface when resting against the flagstick. Intuitive changes like this will prevent a vast number of penalties and disqualifications when a player picks up their ball thinking it had been holed and fails to hole out. Still on the putting green, where there have been some significant changes, there will now be no penalty to anyone, including the player, their opponent, or any other player, if a ball or ball marker is accidentally moved. The ball is simply replaced as long as the movement occurs on the putting green itself. This removes the need for the additional local rule that many committees introduced in 2017. Also under the same rule, 13.1d, there is a change when a ball on the putting green is moved by natural forces, such as wind or gravity. If the ball has been lifted and replaced on its spot, regardless of what caused the ball to move, the ball must always be replaced. This rule may also be useful in particularly high winds, as it may allow play to continue when it might otherwise have been unfair or difficult to do so. It should be noted, however, that this rule won't help a player if they had not lifted the ball first. In this case, if the ball moves by natural forces, it would be played from its new position. The rules now give additional authority to a caddie under Rule 14.1. They are allowed to mark and lift the player's ball on the putting green, any time the player is allowed to do so, without needing authorization each time. They will continue to be allowed to replace the player's ball if it was them who lifted or moved the ball. The other big change for caddies and for partners of the player is being able to point out and touch the line of play rather than line of putt on the putting green. This is consistent with the rules permitting touching the putting green to repair any damage provided no object is placed to show the line of play. This slide shows a wrong green. This, while a small change within the rules, makes things more consistent when it comes to taking relief. It is also another terminology change. Relief from a wrong green, not a wrong putting green. It is now part of the general area, so not classed as an area now known as the putting green. Now interference is not just if the ball touches a wrong green, but if the wrong green affects the player's area of intended stance or swing. So the relief procedure is consistent with that of an abnormal course condition. The final area of the course to discuss is what used to be called water hazards and now called penalty areas. There will be yellow penalty areas and red penalty areas, and committees have the discretion to mark any penalty areas as red so that lateral relief will always be allowed. The other major change to penalty areas is that a player can now touch or move loose impediments, touch the ground with a hand or club, take practice swings, basically everything that you can do in the general area. This should be much easier for players to understand, should avoid unnecessary penalties and assist with pace of play. This example shows penalty area relief options when marked as a yellow penalty area. There is no change to the rules here in a yellow penalty area in how to apply the rules. If the ball can't be found, it must be known or virtually certain, 95% likely, that the ball came to rest in the penalty area. The ball is played from point 1 and crosses into the water at point X. The player has the option to go back to where he or she last played under stroke and distance from point 1 under penalty of 1 stroke. Player has the option to take back on the line relief. Player must choose a reference point back on the line and drop the ball within a club length of point 2 under penalty of 1 stroke. Remember, if a player's ball lies in a penalty area and they have interference from an abnormal course condition, an embedded ball, there are no relief options other than under Rule 17 and a penalty of 1 stroke. This example shows penalty area relief options when marked as a red penalty area. Ball is played from point 1 and crosses into the water at point X. Player has the option to go back to where he or she last played at point 1 under stroke and distance under a penalty of 1 stroke. Player has the option to take back on the line relief. Player selects a reference point back on the line and drop the ball within a club length of point 2 under penalty of 1 stroke. Player has the option to take lateral relief. The player must drop a ball within 2 club lengths of point X under penalty of 1 stroke. Remember, there is now no option to take opposite margin relief under the new rules.
When dropping your ball under the new rules, the likelihood you will need only 1 drop will increase, while the randomness of your resulting lie will be preserved. The procedure is simple. Hold the ball at knee height, let go of it so it falls straight down, and make sure that it lands and comes to rest in the relief area. Don't throw, roll, or spin the ball, and don't let it hit you as it falls. When you drop in relief areas defined by 1 or 2 club lengths in the 2019 rules, a club length will always mean the length of the longest club in your bag, except your putter. For most players, that club will be their driver, but not always. This player is using his driver to measure his 2 club length lateral relief area outside a red penalty area. This player's back on the line relief area is 1 club length on either side of and behind the point he has chosen on the line from the hole through where his ball was unplayable in the bunker. He is estimating the size of his relief area without measuring, then dropping well within 1 club length of that point. Finally, when a player measures with a shorter club, it is still the longest club in their bag, except the putter, that defines the relief area. Remember, when you drop, your ball must always land in, come to rest in, and be played from the relief area. In the 2019 rules, when dropping and taking free relief or penalty relief, your ball must be dropped in the defined relief area, and it must come to rest in there too. Most of the time, with the knee-height dropping procedure, that will happen on your first drop. When it doesn't, drop a second time. If the drop doesn't stay within the relief area either, place a ball where your second drop first touched the ground. When taking relief from a penalty area for one penalty stroke, one of your relief options in the 2019 rules is going back on the line. Follow these steps. Estimate the point on the edge of the penalty area where your ball last crossed as it went in. Imagine a straight line running from the hole through that estimated point and extending behind the penalty area. Go as far back as you like and identify a spot on that line. Measure or estimate a 1 club length wide relief area on either side of and behind that spot. In the 2019 rules, a club length is always the longest club in your bag, except your putter. Then, drop a ball in the relief area. Your drop ball must land in and be played from the relief area. In the 2019 rules, when you take lateral relief from a red penalty area under a one-stroke penalty, estimate the point on the edge of the penalty area where your ball last crossed as it went in. Starting at that point, measure or estimate your 2 club lengths relief area outside the penalty area that is not near the hole. In the 2019 rules, club lengths are the length of the longest club in your bag, except your putter. And then, drop a ball in that area. Your drop ball must land in and come to rest in the relief area. When the 2019 rules let you lift your ball to take relief instead of playing it as it lies, you will be allowed to either use your original ball or substitute and use a different ball. In the 2019 rules, you are allowed to substitute a ball when taking free relief as well as when taking penalty relief. This player is substituting a ball when taking free relief from a cart path. Other than when your ball is on the putting green, if you take an action near your ball and cause it to move, you get a one-stroke penalty under the 2019 rules. However, you're only responsible for causing a ball to move if it is known or virtually certain that you did so. This means when it is 95% or more likely that you caused it to move. For this player, it is not virtually certain that his actions caused the ball to move. Therefore, the ball is treated as moved by natural forces and played from the new location. Under the 2019 rules, there is no penalty if you accidentally move your ball while searching for it. If you do, replace your ball back on its original spot. If you don't know the original spot exactly, like this player, simply estimate it, including how the ball was lying under the grass, and replace the ball there. After playing his shot, this player notices another ball and lifts it. Almost immediately, a player on another hole advises him that the lifted ball could be hers. In such cases, if your ball is moved or lifted by someone else, it must be replaced either by you or that person. This is done by simply replacing that ball on the spot it was lifted or moved from. If that spot isn't exactly known, as in this case, simply estimate it and replace the ball there. After each stroke you make on a hole, you are supposed to find and play that same ball. Most of the time, it is possible to identify your ball without lifting it, but occasionally you need to lift it to do so. Under the 2019 rules, you are not required to announce that you intend to lift your ball to identify it. But before you lift a ball to identify it, you need to mark its position, and you are not allowed to clean the ball any more than needed to identify it. If the ball is yours, you will put it back in the same place where you lifted it. The 2019 rules allow you to repair almost any damage on the putting green. In addition to ball marks and old hole plugs, you're allowed to repair spike marks and any other damage caused by shoes, repair animal damage, and repair damage caused by maintenance practices. The fixing and repair of the putting green must be done promptly and must not improve your line of play beyond the repair of the damage. Under the 2019 rules, when you're assessing the line for your putt, there will be no penalty if your caddy or partner touches the putting green to point out where you should aim or how your putt will break. This includes touching the green with a flagstick. Under the 2019 rules, if you accidentally move your ball or ball marker on the putting green, there is no penalty. For example, if you accidentally move your ball in making a practice swing or in preparing for your stroke, drop your ball marker on your ball and move it, move your ball with your foot, or cause your ball marker to move, there is no penalty and you simply replace your ball or ball marker on its original spot. After you mark, lift and then replace your ball on the putting green, if it moves for any reason, including through your own accidental actions, or for some other reason such as the wind, always replace your ball back on its original spot. If you don't know the exact spot, estimate it as accurately as you can and replace the ball there. Under the 2019 rules, there is no penalty for hitting the flagstick that is in the hole when you've played your stroke from off the putting green or if you've played your stroke from on the green. So, if you want to leave the flagstick in the hole, perhaps to save time or because you think it helps you, there is no penalty if your ball hits it. If your ball is not holed, play it as it lies. Under the 2019 rules, when your ball is on the putting green, your caddy is allowed to mark, lift and clean it with or without your approval. If your caddy has marked and lifted your ball, it can be replaced by either you or your caddy. In the 2019 rules, areas with red or yellow markings most golfers call water hazards have a new name: penalty areas. Penalty areas can also include other places on the course not containing water, where balls are frequently not found or not playable, such as jungles, deserts, canyons, and more. If you lose your ball in a penalty area, or find it and decide not to play it, you have several options to take relief outside it for one penalty stroke. One of them is lateral relief. Estimate where your ball crossed the red line as it went into the penalty area. Measure or estimate your 2 club lengths lateral relief area outside the penalty area that is not near the hole. Then, drop a ball in the relief area and play it from there. The 2019 rules introduced the term penalty area, which includes areas previously known as water hazards. If you find your ball in a penalty area and want to play it from there, the same rules apply as when playing a ball from the fairway or the rough. So before making a stroke, you're allowed to move loose impediments, make practice swings that touch the ground or any water inside the penalty area, and ground your club near your ball. Under the 2019 rules, there is no penalty for moving loose impediments when your ball is in a bunker. However, some bunker restrictions continue to exist. For example, you're still not allowed to touch the sand with your club, behind or in front of your ball, when making a practice swing, or when making your backswing. When you decide your ball in a bunker is unplayable, under the 2019 rules you have an extra option that lets you drop back on the line outside the bunker for a penalty of 2 strokes. Imagine a straight line running from the hole through where your unplayable ball is. Identify a spot on that line as far behind the bunker as you like. Measure or estimate a 1 club length wide relief area on either side of and behind that spot. Then, drop a ball in that area. Your drop ball must land in and be played from the relief area. The rules permit you to freely exchange advice with your caddy or partner, but you are required to act alone when making a stroke. Under the 2019 rules, once you start taking your stance for a stroke, neither your caddy nor partner are allowed to stand behind you. It is important that you're aware of how your pace of play impacts others. The 2019 rules encourage prompt pace of play by all players by recommending that you play promptly throughout the round, such as by preparing in advance for each stroke, moving at a good pace between strokes and between holes, and that you make a stroke in no more than 40 seconds. The 2019 rules also expressly allow for you to agree to play out of turn in a safe and responsible way, to save time or for convenience. This is often referred to as ready golf. The order of play when starting a hole depends on who has the honour. After that, it is based on which ball is farthest from the hole. In stroke play, however, there is no penalty for playing out of turn, and the 2019 rules both allow and encourage you to play ready golf, which means to play in a safe and responsible order that is most convenient and that saves time. These players agreed to play out of turn because the player farther from the hole had a difficult shot and the other player was ready to play. The 2019 rules include a new form of stroke play called maximum score. Under this alternative form of play, a maximum number of strokes are set to cap a player's score on each hole. Examples of maximums are net double bogey, 2 times par, or a fixed number such as a 6, 8 or 10 strokes. This means if you pick up your ball without finishing a hole, you get the maximum score for that hole.
No more, guys.
To help pace of play, you are encouraged to stop playing a hole when you reach the maximum, or you realise a score of less than the maximum will not be possible.
As you can see, there are lots of rules resources available on www.rnda.org now, and more will become available over the coming weeks and months to help you and your members familiarise yourselves with the new rules of golf.